The doctor's words hung in the air like a death sentence. "Mr. Parker, I'm sorry to tell you this, but your daughter was born blind." In that moment, Michael Parker's world collapsed around him. He stood alone in that sterile hospital corridor, no wife by his side. She had left him 3 months into the pregnancy. Now, as a single father to a newborn with a disability, he wondered how he would possibly manage. But what happened next would change everything, revealing that sometimes, miracles come disguised as ordinary people in scrubs. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more incredible journeys of hope and resilience. Michael stared through the nursery window at his tiny daughter, Emma, swaddled in a pink blanket. Her eyes remained closed, and when they did open, they didn't track movement or light. The doctors had explained that she had been born with congenital blindness. Her optic nerves hadn't developed properly during pregnancy. "She's beautiful," came a soft voice beside him. Michael turned to see a nurse with kind eyes and dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her name tag read, Sarah. "She is," Michael agreed, his voice cracking. "But I don't know how to do this. Her mother left us. I'm alone. And now Emma will never see the world." Sarah placed a gentle hand on his arm. "You're not alone, Mr. Parker. And neither is Emma." Over the next few days, as Emma prepared to go home, Sarah became Michael's lifeline. She taught him how to feed Emma, how to change her, how to hold her so she felt secure. But more importantly, she listened as Michael poured out his fears. "I work in construction," he confessed one evening. "I was planning to take a few weeks off, but then go back. Now, with Emma's condition, I don't know what to do. Childcare for a special needs baby. I can't afford that on my salary." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "Have you looked into resources for parents of visually impaired children? There are programs that might help." Michael shook his head. "I don't even know where to start." "I might," Sarah said with a small smile. The day Emma was discharged, Sarah handed Michael a thick folder. "Resources," she explained. "Support groups, financial assistance programs, early intervention services. And my number, in case you need anything." Michael's apartment felt impossibly quiet that first night with Emma. As she slept in her bassinet beside his bed, he flipped through Sarah's folder, overwhelmed by the information but grateful for the lifeline. The first few weeks passed in a blur of sleepless nights and anxious days. Michael took extended leave from work, stretching his savings dangerously thin. He attended every appointment with Emma's specialists, absorbing information about her condition and what her future might hold. "She'll need early intervention," the pediatric ophthalmologist explained. "Special education services, mobility training as she grows. It's a different path, but many blind individuals lead full, independent lives." Michael nodded, trying to imagine his tiny daughter navigating the world without sight. That night, he broke down, sobbing quietly beside Emma's crib. When he finally composed himself, he called Sarah. "I don't know if I can do this," he admitted. "You already are doing it," Sarah replied gently. "And you're not doing it alone." True to her word, Sarah began stopping by after her shifts. She brought dinner sometimes, or just sat with Michael while he voiced his fears. She showed him how to create a consistent environment for Emma, explaining that routine would help her develop a mental map of her surroundings. "Talk to her constantly," Sarah advised. "Describe everything you're doing, everything around you. Her other senses will become her way of seeing the world." Michael took this advice to heart. He narrated his days to Emma, describing the color of the sky, the shape of the furniture, the texture of her blankets. He played music for her and guided her tiny hands to feel different objects. As weeks turned to months, Michael noticed something strange. Sometimes, when he moved suddenly near Emma, she would turn her head toward the movement. When he dangled a bright toy above her, her eyes seemed to follow it momentarily. "It's probably just a reflex," the doctor said when Michael mentioned it at Emma's 4-month checkup. Some blind babies still have light perception or shadow detection. Don't get your hopes up for more than that. But Michael couldn't help noticing these moments more frequently. One evening, as Sarah played with Emma on a blanket on the living room floor, she froze suddenly. "Michael," she said quietly. "Turn off the lamp and come here." Michael did as she asked, plunging the room into darkness except for the glow of the setting sun through the window. Sarah took out her phone and turned on the flashlight, moving it slowly in front of Emma's face. Emma's eyes tracked the light. "That's not normal for complete blindness," Sarah whispered, her medical training kicking in. "Michael, I think we need a second opinion." The next week was a whirlwind of appointments. A different ophthalmologist, then a neurologist, then a specialist in pediatric vision disorders. Tests, scans, examinations. "It's unusual," the specialist finally said. "Emma has a rare condition called delayed visual maturation. Her optic nerves weren't fully developed at birth, but they're continuing to develop now. Some children with this condition can gain significant visual function over time." Michael gripped Sarah's hand so tightly his knuckles turned white. "Are you saying she might be able to see?" "I'm saying it's possible she may develop some functional vision. It won't be perfect, and we won't know the extent until she's older, but yes, there's hope." Hope. It was a word Michael hadn't allowed himself to feel since Emma's birth. The next months brought intensive therapy. Sarah used her connections at the hospital to get Emma into an early intervention program specializing in visual impairments. She researched treatments, exercises, and stimulation techniques to encourage Emma's developing vision. By Emma's first birthday, she could clearly see shapes and follow movement across a room. By 18 months, she was reaching for toys and navigating her way around furniture. Her vision wasn't perfect, she would always have some impairment, but it was so much more than anyone had initially thought possible. Through it all, Sarah remained by their side. Her visits became more frequent, her presence in their lives more essential. Michael found himself looking forward to her arrival each day, not just for Emma's sake, but for his own. One evening, as they sat on the couch watching Emma play with blocks on the floor, actually seeing them, distinguishing colors, stacking them with determination, Michael turned to Sarah. "Why did you do all this?" he asked quietly. "Go so far beyond your job as a nurse?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "When I was 5, I was diagnosed with a serious vision problem. The doctors told my parents I would eventually go blind. My mother refused to accept that. She found specialists, researched treatments, advocated for me at every turn." She smiled softly. "I had surgery when I was 7. It worked. I still need these," she tapped her glasses, "but I can see. When I met you and Emma, I saw my mother in you, that same determination, that same love. I just wanted to help." Michael looked at her, really looked at her, seeing for the first time how beautiful she was, not just physically, but in her spirit, her kindness, her strength. "You didn't just help," he said softly. "You changed everything." 3 years later, Emma ran through a park, her pigtails bouncing, her special glasses secure on her small face. She could see well enough to play, to learn, to experience the world, differently than most children, but fully and joyfully nonetheless. "Daddy! Sarah! Watch me," she called, climbing onto a small slide. Michael and Sarah stood hand in hand, wedding rings glinting in the sunlight, watching the little girl who had brought them together. "She sees the world so beautifully," Sarah murmured. "So do you," Michael replied, squeezing her hand. "You taught us both how to see what matters most." As Emma slid down with a squeal of delight, Michael reflected on their journey. From that devastating diagnosis in the hospital corridor to this moment of pure joy, they had traveled a path he never could have imagined. What had seemed like the end of his world had become the beginning of something more beautiful than he could have dreamed. Sometimes the darkest moments lead to the brightest futures. Sometimes what we perceive as our greatest challenges become our greatest blessings. And sometimes, the people who enter our lives at our lowest points become the ones who lift us to our highest. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories of hope, resilience, and the incredible power of human connection. Remember that even in your darkest moments, light may be just around the corner, and sometimes, that light comes in the form of someone who simply refuses to let you walk alone.